Welcome to the California Small Business Tax and Money Podcast. My name is Megan Robin, and I am a California tax attorney with a Master's of Laws in Taxation. I help small business owners save money on taxes and get their finances on track. As I just mentioned, I am an attorney. I am not a registered investment advisor. I cannot advise on what funds someone should buy or how their stock and bond portfolio should be allocated, and thank goodness, because I do not have a crystal ball. But here's the big surprise. Thankfully, you do not need a crystal ball. What you need is a boring strategy. There are so many ways you can organize your financial investment portfolio. So when I say investment portfolio, right now I'm just talking about Wall Street investments, stocks, bonds, things like that. There are so many popularized ways like the Bogle method or the Swenson portfolio allocation and others. I will do more videos on this topic because there's so much confusion around how to allocate an investment portfolio. I understand why people struggle with this. The financial industry has a big incentive to make sure people stay confused because then they sign up for bad deals. They enroll in funds that have too high of an expense ratio, or they pay financial advisors way too much money to essentially guess and make picks for them that are unnecessary. What I'm talking about in this episode is why you do not need some crazy fancy portfolio allocation. I see this too often. When financial advisors get overly involved, a lot of times they're doing things like picking stocks and bonds and funds that don't make sense for the client, but that the financial advisor earns commissions on. I often see them doing too much trading, which for my high income clients is a big problem because when you trade, you trigger a capital gain or a loss sometimes. Hopefully you're getting a gain, but you have to pay taxes on those gains. So we don't want to just willy-nilly be trading. We want to do it intentionally so that we don't trigger taxes in high income years or at times where it doesn't make sense from a tax perspective. To really push my point home about why your investment portfolio should be boring, I want to tell you about a bet that Warren Buffett made in 2007. Warren Buffett bet $1 million against Ted Sades, the owner of Protégé Partners, that a low-cost S&P 500 index fund would outperform a portfolio of 5 hedge funds after all fees and expenses over a period of 10 years. So to say that again, Warren Buffett is betting that this fancy schmancy hedge fund can't beat his low-cost index fund, which is a passive, not managed index fund. So the bet ran from January 1st, 2008 to December 31st, 2017. This was a period that had so many ups and downs. There was a global financial crisis and market recoveries. All kinds of things happened during this time. Buffett's choice for his passive index fund was the Vanguard S&P 500 Index Fund. This is passive. It's not managed. It has a very low expense ratio. This is what he chose. Protégé Partners picked 5 actively managed hedge funds. The wager was designed to compare passive funds versus actively managed fund investing after accounting for all the fees and costs that go into managing these actively managed funds. In total, the S&P 500 index fund gained about 125%, while the hedge fund gained only about 36%. The gap was so wide that Sades conceded defeat early before the bet was even officially ended. Buffett donated his winnings to Girls Inc. of Omaha, a nonprofit for young women. So what are the takeaways here? The high fees charged by a lot of these fancy advisors can really erode your returns over time. Low-cost index funds allow investors to keep more of their returns, and this makes them hard to beat over the long term. Because if you're keeping more of your money, you can reinvest that money, and that growth can compound over time. This is a really big deal. Wall Street advisors with their shiny big corporate buildings and sleek-looking suits can seem really exciting and alluring to a lot of people. However, these actively managed strategies often fail to consistently outperform simple, passive approaches like index funds. Buffett's win highlights the importance of minimizing costs, staying invested for the long term, and not being fooled by complexity. I just ran into a financial advisor recently who had started telling me, I'm getting into direct indexing and all these complex strategies, which if you don't know, direct indexing is when the financial advisor picks their own funds. So instead of investing your money into a pre-made fund, like one you might find on Schwab or Fidelity or any of these brokerages, the financial advisor is just grabbing individual stocks like Ford or Tesla or whatever and putting together their own clump of stocks together in a fund that they've created. And they sell these as being these wonderful customized solution. But in the end, you're really paying for the financial advisor's fees, expenses, and time putting together this portfolio that after all of these expenses is very unlikely to outperform a well-balanced portfolio of just low-cost funds. So don't be dazzled by all these crazy strategies that are being sold to you. Remember, if someone is selling something to you, you need to understand how they make their money, how much you'll be paying, and whether your incentives are aligned with theirs. Back to the Buffett story. One of the big takeaways that I take from this story is that investing does not require Wall Street expertise that only a few people have. It just requires consistency, discipline, patience, and a focus on the fundamentals. Your investment portfolio should be boring. Stick with big, simple decisions and avoid unnecessary activity or trading or unnecessary complexity. As an attorney, I help my clients develop clear, simple, time-tested strategies to keep more of their hard-earned money in their pockets. To schedule a consultation with me, visit my website, meganrobin.com. Thanks for listening. This content is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, tax, financial, or investment advice.